Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and a big warm hello to my subscribers. I love you guys. Today I thought we'd have a little fun and change it up. You guys loved the French Country Easter decor I did last week, so I'm bringing you some more French Country spring DIYs. And as always, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. For this first DIY, you're going to need this super cute Dollar Tree mirror, or a mirror like it. And I'm trying to show you the designs here. It has absolutely beautiful designs. And when I saw it at the Dollar Tree, I snatched it up. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. And you're going to need some scrap material that's see-through and sheer. I'm showing you here how it's sheer. I'm using an old runner that I have laying around and some Dollar Tree lace ribbon. But you can make mix and match this any way you want, because in the end it's yours, so make it your own. But I'm just going to give you the general idea of what I did here, because we're going to make a French country decor piece. So the first thing I did was paint it with some primer. It was the Kilz primer, K-I-L-Z. And definitely do that, because I tested it and painted a little bit of acrylic paint at the bottom and it started peeling off right away, and I thought, we're not doing that. So we did the primer first. You can take it out and spray paint it with primer too. It was just raining that day, so I had to stay in. And then I took some pewter gray. I did a dry brush over it to kind of darken it up. And then you saw me take a little burnt umber there just to add some shadow, and I wiped it away, but it still changed the color a little bit, so it wasn't totally the pewter gray. And then the last thing I did, which I really loved, was I took a white sponge with paint and just tapped it lightly on top of those designs to deliberately bring them out. And this is what we end up with here. We've got the shadows underneath and the whiteness on top, and I love the way that this came out. So the next step, of course, is cutting that material. We're going to cut it. Well, I'm saving the little trim for another DIY, so that's a separate issue for me. But just cut your material in strips. You're going to do long, even strips, and don't be concerned if they're jagged on the side or crooked. The more, the more imperfect they are, the more perfect they will look for this particular DIY. So that's all I'm doing now, is just cutting this material into strips. So you definitely want this craft to have an uneven bottom with different lengths. So I'm grabbing each one of these now and just, I'm going to grab it like a bouquet, I guess, and make sure the top of it is even. If it's not perfect, you'll see me trim it a little bit later in the video, but more or less you try to get it even. Then you're going to take that Dollar Tree lace ribbon, tie it on that handle really tight into a knot, and kind of flare out the top the best you can a little bit. Don't make it so it's really small and skinny. I don't know if that translated correctly, but you can see me kind of fanning it out so that it looks like a fan, and when you tie it really tight, it will almost turn into like a little flower bloom. It looks really cute. You can see it right there. And then I made a really pretty bow with a Dollar Tree ribbon. That was just a floral bow. I've got some videos on that. If you're interested in learning how to make those, there's a lot of wonderful YouTube videos on that. I know other channels show you in detail how to make floral bows. They're very simple. You just loop it around your hand and tie it in the middle. And of course, the French country look is a very romantic look. So I'm taking these pearls, also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue 3 of them in the middle of this bow. And last but certainly not least, I added some delicate baby's breath type flowers to this and some greenery, and it gave it that perfect finishing touch, and I absolutely love the way that this came out. This is a Pinterest find. It's my inspiration piece. It's that tray, you guys. I saw this tray. I absolutely fell in love with the colors and the energy of it. So we're going to try and recreate the energy here with another tray. This is a tray I got from the 99-cent only store for 99 cents, but the Dollar Tree certainly has plenty of trays you can use. And I took it outside. I gave it one coat of white primer by Rust-Oleum spray paint. And now I'm using Granite Gray by Apple Barrel Paint. This is a gray that I use because it almost looks like a blue gray. Now I do end up using a little bit of blue just to kick up the blue vibes a bit more when I'm working on distressing this, but we start off with the Granite Gray. Now I'm using the Dollar Tree wood pieces right there because they're going to make perfect little rustic legs for this tray. I don't have the ability to recreate the kind of legs the original tray had, but I definitely like that it was a riser type tray. So I'm using these little wooden pieces, and I went through a whole bunch of them, found even ones, and they worked perfect. It's actually completely level. It doesn't wobble at all. So that's nice to know. If you guys have access to those wooden pieces, you can use them for little feet, and they're great for rustic decor. Thank you to my subscriber who sent these to me I think she sent them to me before fall, and I'm kind of milking them because I'm trying not to use too many. I'm really taking my time because I absolutely love those little wood pieces, and I haven't been able to find them in any of my Dollar Trees, and I'm almost wondering if it's because it's the kind of wood. Maybe it's not allowed in my state. I don't know, but they're not selling them in my Dollar Tree. So you saw me take some black there and just go over with a dry brush, and now I'm using antique white from Apple Barrel to do another dry brush, and of course my favorite burnt umber. We're going to use a little bit of that. I'm using a combination of colors, and I just keep working with this tray and working with it and working with it until I get the look I like. I will give you a breakdown of the colors in the order that I used them. My first color, and they're all Apple Barrel paints, was Granite Gray. Second color was black. Third color was antique white. And my fourth color was burnt umber, and then I'll add a little bit of baby blue in there. You can see it right there just to kick up the blue a bit. That was not Apple Barrel, actually. That was just an old paint, but any baby blue would work, and you don't have to do that. That's optional. And now I'm just adding some black into the curves there to try and create an illusion of a bit more depth. And we're going to continue with more dry brushing, more smearing, and just more, working on this tray until we get it where we want it to be. So I'm adding some more black, and then when the surface is a little wet there from the sponge, I take advantage of that and I add the baby blue to kind of give it more of a blue haze all over it. And of course, to make up for the fact that I don't have those awesome legs on the original tray, you're going to see me use some awesome stencils. I have some beautiful stencils another lovely subscriber sent me. She said she got it from Dollar General, but someone came on and said she also saw these at the Dollar Tree, and they are perfect for French country, and it just gave it such a beautiful French country accent. But you'll have to let me know in the comments if I failed it or nailed it. I love this tray. For this next DIY, you're going to need a Dollar Tree square sign. I'm using a piece of wood the same size, and this 15-foot Hobby Lobby craft. It's a little mini vine. I got it for 50% off, so it was only $2. And I'm going to start by giving this a coat of white primer, Kilz, K-I-L-Z again. That's always the primer I use unless I take it out to spray paint it. And then my favorite is Rust-Oleum. And I do want the wood to show on this because this wood has knots, and I think I just love natural wood. So I'm trying not to cover up too much with the white paint. I just want to brighten it up and kind of do a real rough paint job, I guess, with the white paint. And you saw me there trace out 3 egg shapes. And I did originally, you guys, cut out a foam board, white foam board, and when I put the napkin on it, it was super bright and like almost cartoonish looking. So I went, oh, no, that's not going to work, because French country, you know, Farmhouse kind of does the white thing a lot, but French country, I find when you look at pictures, they celebrate more with creams and tans and it's a warmer look. And I love French country for that reason, you guys. It's definitely a cross between Farmhouse and, you know, if Farmhouse is too neutral and plain and you want some roses in there, but you're not ready for Shabby Chic because you don't think you want that much white and lace and pink going on. French country is a great middle ground. So you saw what I did. I just took the glue stick from the Dollar Tree and I glued down those napkins. I love the glue stick. I've spoken about this in previous videos. It doesn't cause any wrinkling. It's always the driest glue, you guys, to get, you know, yield a better success rate at not having any wrinkling. Go with the driest glue you can find that works. That comes in a set of 8 from the Dollar Tree. It's a great deal and it sticks wonderfully. Have done many crafts with those glue sticks now and I love them. And I'm now taking the Dollar Tree lace ribbon and I'm just gluing them in the center. That's what we have so far. I think that looks so pretty. But by gluing it on cardboard, the cardboard added depth to those, so now they almost look kind of more antiqued. Just because of the surface I chose to glue them down on, I didn't have to distress the eggs. The napkins I used were very transparent, and so it picked up undertones from whatever I was going to glue it down on, which made it really easy. So here I'm using some twine to make a twine bow, and I'm pulling this one out and flaring it a little bit because I want it to look more like a flower, or just a little bit more than just a flat bow. And I'm taking a little bit of fire there just to singe off the hairs. It's very furry. The Dollar Tree jute twine gets a little too furry sometimes, so it helps to burn those off. And I'm going to glue it in the center of the ribbon. And now I'm trying for the first time some of the Dollar Tree rub-on transfers. And you guys, I was really impressed. 8+ to the Dollar Tree. It came up so nice. They literally looked like I painted them on, and they were clean and crisp and professional looking. They didn't have any raised edges like a vinyl or anything like that. They are like paint almost going on there, and at least on matte paint they worked great. I can't vouch for shiny surfaces, but the matte paint worked great. So I'm using the Dollar Tree sign there. You saw me paint it black and sandpaper some of that black paint off so it looked a little distressed and antiqued. And I'm just gluing it down with a bit of super glue and hot glue, using black paint to edge around. Of course, after I put the bow on, I decided to do this. You'll see me flip the bow up so it can dry. Thank goodness there's wire in that bow because it was able to dry. But I love the way this came out. I really think it has a beautiful French country feel to it, as well as Easter and spring. For this next craft, you're going to need another Dollar Tree square sign, or you can cut the wood out like I did. That's actually part of a corn crate that a subscriber sent me. Thank you. And I'm using the last of it here for this DIY. And here are some fabulous paint sticks I found in Amazon because they don't cut that stupid shape up at the top, which you end up cutting off and wasting about 3 inches of your wood, which makes it not cheap anymore unless you want an 8 by 8 inch sign, and I don't. I like the 12 by 12 inch. So that was just, I think they work out to be about 15 cents each, and that's cheap enough, and they're finished and ready to go. And I just thought, you know, if you're interested, there's a link down below. So these are going to be free printables, the little lady and the Bonjour word. And you can see here that I chose to use pencil, and I'm scribbling just on the letters because I don't want it to stain any other part of this paper. If you use carbon paper and you're laying your hand down, you're kind of risking getting the rest of the paper dirty around the word. So there it is. I'm showing you up close. It works perfect and it's nice and clean. So stick with pencil if you do this craft. And that striped paper is from Hobby Lobby. It's some of their craft paper. They're bigger and thicker and nicer than the ones at Michael's Crafts, so I highly recommend them. And now I'm just taking and I'm going to trim this lady out right up to the edge. And the inside part with her little arms, I'm going to use my utility knife, my craft knife. The blade is dull. I probably need a craft knife for this, but I haven't, to be honest, it wasn't that sharp when I bought it. So if you guys know of a good sharp craft knife, a name of one, leave it down below in the comments, please, because this was supposed to be a super sharp, supersonic blade. I spent more money than the rest of the blades there, and I was disappointed from the get-go. So I got it at Walmart originally. So let me know if you guys have any suggestions. Now, to combat the little white fur around the edges that she had, I just took a permanent black marker and went around and took ink, and that solved that problem. And now I'm just going to measure and get the frame all ready for this picture. And this is just some regular white glue I got from the Dollar Tree, and I find that this works just fine for the craft paper from Hobby Lobby because it's so thick. It does not wrinkle when you glue it down with regular glue. And I'm going to spread this, and I'm going to use my sleeves to flatten it down so I don't get any glue anywhere. Here I go, because I always get nervous the surface is going to get cross-contaminated if I start using my hands, so I always use my sleeves just to kind of push everything flat. And I got a perfect flat fit, by the way, and there were some lumps, and it made me, I thought, because I didn't notice that was actually part of the wood. They were hard as a rock, and I didn't notice it until I went to glue something like paper down. But you can't see it when the craft is all done. But just a warning, you guys, rub your hands over the surface of the wood or hold it up and check to see if there's any lumps in areas from the knots or anything, because you might not want to use that side of the wood or that piece of the wood. But I was still totally, this is one of my favorite DIYs actually in this series. I love this. So the next step is to paint these wood sticks with pewter gray from Apple Barrel, and you're going to see me just swirl some hot glue on after they're dry. And you guys do not be intimidated to do this. It definitely can be done haphazardly. That's why I filmed the whole thing, so you guys can see that I'm not careful at all, and you will still get the look that you're after. It will work out perfect, I promise you, so just go for it. But I designed this craft to kind of take the place of the big hat boxes, you know, that pile on top of each other with French writing that people often put in with French country decor, just to kind of, I think they're like accent pieces that talk about France, that talk about something French or have a distinct French look, and it kind of clues a visitor as to what genre you're doing, because a lot of times French country is kind of difficult to tell if you're walking in someone's house what they're doing, whether they're doing Farmhouse or Shabby Chic or even Italian Villa. It kind of crosses over in all these different places. But if you do little crafts like this, then you set the stage perfectly. So once your glue is all dry, you're going to take some black paint and just dry brush over until you get all of the glue painted. Don't worry if you hit the wood underneath with some of the dry brushing. That's perfect. It's going to add depth and character and make the craft look that much better. And don't forget to do all your edges and the ends if you make the kind of frame that I do, because you will see it. Just hit it with a bit of black paint and this is what you end up with. And you're going to take that, glue it around, and you have the perfect little French sign. And the last step I do is take some black paint and just paint the edges, because I did use real wood and I didn't want that raw wood not to have a finished look. And this is it. For this craft, you're going to need a large vase. They sell these at the Dollar Trees and at the 99-cent store, and you can usually find them at thrift stores too. Mine came from my husband. He bought me some roses from a floral shop, but it was just that bright red that did not go with my home decor. So I took it outside and I spray painted it with the Rust-Oleum paint that was both primer and paint. And now I'm using one of these decorative napkins, and I'm just after the pink rose right there. Now with the napkin, I do love the water method, where you just go around the edges with water, because I love the way the napkin looks when you shred it and it gets all furry and uneven, and I just think it looks brilliant when you put it on something that's curvy. You really can't see what, not as much anyway. You can't see where the edges, where it kind of begins and ends. I guess it makes it look more like it's part of the vase rather than paper just on top of it. It blends in nicely. So now I'm going to take a cream color, you guys, that I made. You can see the jar there. The antique white I've mentioned before in previous videos looks almost like a yellow to me, so I squirted about an inch in that salad dressing jar there. I washed it first, of course, and then I just added paint to the rest of it, just white acrylic paint. That's it, to get this beautiful cream color, because again, with French country, really white is more the Farmhouse or the Shabby Chic. With French country, you're going to find more creams, although I love cream for Farmhouse too, but definitely with French country, you gotta try to stick with the creams. Or if you do white, you really have to, I hate saying dirty it up, but you really gotta make it look distressed if you're gonna do white, where you almost like brush like a whole dark color over the top and wipe it off. And here I'm using the water-based stain. I've spoken about this before, and I'm going to start with a baby wipe and this stain. I mix the stain with a little bit of black acrylic paint too, because I don't want it quite as reddish. I want a little bit more of a dark walnut color. And I'm so delicate with the baby wipe because of what I spoke about earlier in this video, where I'm worried about washing off the acrylic paint underneath, which actually with this one I'm not so worried about it, because I do purposely want to rub some of that off. I definitely want different textures. I want it to look like it was painted one color and then repainted, and it's just a very old vase now with multiple colors of paint on, but I just wasn't getting the look I was going for. So I added a little bit of water to that stain and just go for it with a brush. And I take this pink sponge and start sweeping it, and finally, there we go. Now I was getting the look I was going for. This is working out really, really well for this particular craft. So I like to show you the steps I do too, and what works and what doesn't work, just in case you guys find you're in the same situation. It kind of saves you, hopefully, time and hassle if you can see that. So of course, I'm just doing my process of aging and distressing and antiquing this little vase to make it look more like it's French country decor. And now I'm just kind of looking for a perfect side to put my imagery down on. I'm still not happy, so I kind of twirl it around a little bit again. You can see me do it there to get where I want it to go. I am really picky that way. I have to have like the perfect side, and because of that you can see where I decide to leave my thumb down on the image to hold it in place, and then apply the Mod Podge just at the top first, glue it down, and then do the bottom and the sides. I mean, I'm working in sections here because I don't want to lose even the angle or placement of the rose. Now what you see me doing here is just misting it with some water. I do want some wrinkles left behind, but I want them to be very, very petite, hopefully so that they imitate the look of a cracked paint and adds to that antiqued and distressed look. So the next step is to dry brush some burnt umber that's been mixed with a bit of black over the front to accentuate and bring out those cracks so that you can see them. And this is what it looks like. I think that came up so beautiful. It was exactly the look I was going for. And it dries overnight, and the next morning I use a little carbon paper, and I want the carbon paper to be the actual word. I'm not doing this to get like a template and then go over it with a marker. I want everything to look old and antiqued, and the ink from the carbon paper is perfect for that, and I knew it would be. There it is. And I love the way that this vase came out.